Welcome to Hidden Ties, where every story hides a deeper truth. It was supposed to be a regular Friday afternoon until they fired me, tried to screw me out of my bonus, and that's when everything changed. I didn't just walk out, I took down the entire system they'd been depending on. Before we continue, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? I'd love to know. I've always been the kind of person who shows up early, stays late, and does what's asked of me, even when it doesn't always feel fair. I'm 48, a project manager at a mid-sized tech company in the city, and, to be honest, I thought I was doing pretty damn well. I'd spent the last 10 years working my way up, from entry-level admin to the role I had now, managing a team that launched products for big clients. But the thing no one told me about this company was that no matter how hard you worked, if you didn't fit into a very specific mold, well, that was it. That Friday, I had no idea it was going to be my last day. I remember the morning like it was just yesterday, walking in, still wearing my workout clothes, since I tried to squeeze in a quick run before work. I was always juggling things, trying to stay healthy and handle my responsibilities, but I didn't mind. Work didn't feel like a burden, not then. My head was still clearing from my morning jog when my phone buzzed with a message from Tracy, the HR manager. "Please come to my office now." Uh-oh, I muttered to myself. I knew what that meant, but I didn't think it would be me. I walked into her office where she was sitting with Victor, the CEO. He had that "I'm about to drop bad news" look on his face. I've seen it before in meetings, but I never thought I'd be on the receiving end. "Sarah, we've made a difficult decision," Tracy started, folding her hands in front of her. "We're letting you go, effective immediately." I couldn't believe it. I just blinked. "What? Why?" Victor looked at me, his jaw tight. "Budget cuts, company restructuring. We're moving in a different direction." A different direction? What did that even mean? I had been at the company longer than half the people in that room, and I was damn good at my job. "I don't understand. I've been with this company for years. I've put in the work. I've exceeded targets. You can't just fire me." My voice was trembling, but I wasn't about to let them think I was weak. Tracy didn't flinch. "We're prepared to offer a severance package, but we also need to discuss your bonus. It's been a bit of a complication." "What do you mean?" "The bonus was part of my contract," I said, my chest tightening. Victor's voice became sharper. "We can't honor the bonus. We have to review the terms of your contract." It didn't make sense. The bonus wasn't some random perk. It was part of my compensation for hitting targets. It was owed to me. But they were trying to weasel out of it, and I could feel it in the pit of my stomach. This wasn't just business. This was personal. I wanted to scream, to argue, but I just stood there, trying to keep it together. "Fine," I said through gritted teeth. "If you think you can take that away from me, we'll see how well this company runs without me." I was furious, but more than anything, I was hurt. They had built their entire operation off my work, my effort, and now they were trying to take everything from me without even a shred of appreciation. As I walked out of their office, a thought flashed through my mind. They wanted to screw me over, but they had no idea what they were dealing with. I walked out of the building that Friday, my heart heavy and my mind swirling with all the thoughts I couldn't quite make sense of. I had a mix of disbelief, anger, and a deep sense of betrayal. They'd taken everything from me, years of hard work, my time, my loyalty, and now they were trying to rob me of the one thing that was rightfully mine, my bonus. I drove home in a daze, barely remembering the drive. But it was when I got into my apartment that something inside me snapped. I went straight for the kitchen and pulled out a bottle of wine, something I hadn't touched in ages, but in that moment, I needed the warmth of the alcohol to calm the storm inside me. I poured myself a glass, then another, and for the first time, I let myself cry. But the tears didn't last long. A feeling of fire burned in me instead. I wasn't going to just walk away from this, not without making them regret it. They wanted to rob me of what I had earned, Well, I was going to show them just how much they depended on me. As the night wore on, my head cleared. The wine didn't numb the anger anymore. Instead, it gave me focus. I began to think about everything I had worked on, the system I'd helped develop, the product launch that was right around the corner. The company was scrambling to push this project through, and I had been the backbone of it. They needed me. Without me, they wouldn't launch in time. And that's when the plan started to form in my head. They thought they could walk all over me? Fine. I wasn't just going to let them fire me and leave with nothing. I had the knowledge, I had the access, and most importantly, I had a whole lot of rage. I grabbed my laptop from the kitchen counter and opened the file I had been working on with my team. It was the final phase of the new system they were about to launch. It had taken months to get everything just right, building it from scratch, testing it, making sure every bug was ironed out. But in the back of my mind, I knew something. This system, the very one they depended on to push the product live, wasn't as secure as they thought. I logged in. It was still all fresh in my mind. The system, the protocols, the backdoor access. I knew exactly where the vulnerabilities were. The thought was reckless, but the more I thought about it, the more satisfying it felt. I could take it down. It wouldn't take much, but it would be enough to cause chaos, enough to make them see what they had just lost. They wanted to steal my bonus, my hard-earned money. I would take from them the only thing that mattered, the launch itself. I was going to shut down the system they relied on to make their company's biggest product launch a reality. And I was going to do it without them even knowing what hit them. I spent the next few hours poring over the details, double-checking my plan. I could feel the adrenaline slowly building up, but there was a part of me that wondered if I was going too far. Was I really prepared to destroy all of it? All that I had worked for? But in the end, the answer came easy. They fired me without a second thought. They thought they could take my money, my dignity, and walk away. Well, I wasn't just going to take it lying down. I was going to take control back. I could hear the ticking of the clock in my mind. The countdown to launch day was coming closer, and I was going to make sure they knew they couldn't mess with me. The next day, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the look on Tracy's face when she told me I was being let go. The way Victor sat there, stone-faced, as if I had no value. Well, I was going to show them how wrong they were. I had the knowledge, I had the tools, and now I had the resolve. I woke up early, even though I had no reason to be anywhere on time anymore. But the weight of what I was about to do was heavy in my chest. If I was going to pull this off, I needed to be calculated, methodical. This wasn't just a petty revenge act. This was about showing them the consequences of their choices. I didn't want to destroy everything, but I wanted them to feel the blow. I went through my old work emails, checking my access points. The system I helped build was built on a network of cloud platforms with layers of security that I had designed. But I knew where the cracks were. It was always in the permissions, those little unnoticed things that no one thought twice about. By the time the sun rose, I knew exactly what I was going to do. I sent a message to a former coworker, Kelly, who still worked in the IT department. She was a good friend, had always been supportive of me, and while I hadn't spoken to her since my firing, I figured it couldn't hurt to reach out. Hey, I know things are weird right now, but could you do me a favor? I need some help with something. Just a quick favor, nothing big. If you can, text me back. It was a gamble. I knew she might not even reply. I had no way of knowing whether she was loyal to the company or not. But I trusted her. She had always been a straight shooter, and if I played this right, I could use her to my advantage. While I waited for her response, I worked through my plan. I had a clear picture of where I was going with this. The system depended on a series of integrations from different platforms. If I could disrupt those integrations, it would cause a cascading failure. They wouldn't even know what hit them. It was around noon when I heard back from Kelly. Hey Sarah, what's up? I hesitated, then typed out my message. Look, I know this is weird, but I need a favor. Can you give me access to the main server for just a minute? I'm locked out of my old account, but there's something I need to check. Just don't mention it to anyone." There was a pause before she replied. "I don't know, Sarah, that's against policy, but I guess I'll do it this one time. I'll send you the access details in a few." My heart raced, but I kept it cool. "You're a lifesaver. Thanks, Kelly." It was a small step, but I could feel the power shift in my hands. I waited for the details, my mind running through the possibilities. If she followed through, I'd have everything I needed to pull the plug on the whole operation. An hour later, I had the access. I could feel the tension building in my shoulders, a nervous excitement bubbling inside me. This was it. I logged into the main server and started navigating through the system's backend. I knew exactly where to go, where to make the changes. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for a moment as I thought about the final step. But then, something strange happened. I hesitated. I knew the consequences. I was about to cause a major disruption. I wasn't just throwing a wrench into their plans. I was breaking it entirely. It would set them back weeks, maybe months. The project wouldn't launch on time, and the blame would fall squarely on the people in charge. But even more than that, I realized the true power I held. The knowledge that I could undo everything they had worked for was intoxicating. I wanted to feel the satisfaction, but I wasn't some kind of hacker. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about sending a message. I didn't want to burn everything down. Instead, I carefully adjusted a few settings, just enough to introduce delays, to cause enough confusion that they wouldn't be able to meet their deadlines. The project would still technically be on, but it would collapse under the weight of its own mismanagement. I made the final changes, then sat back. My hands were still trembling as I closed the system, logging out. What had I just done? I couldn't explain it, but I felt a sense of calm. It was done. They had tried to take my bonus, take my dignity, and fire me without so much as a thank you for everything I'd done. But now they had no idea what was coming for them. I didn't care about the bonus anymore. It wasn't about the money. It was about proving to them that I wasn't someone they could just push around. I left my apartment that afternoon, walking through the city streets with a strange sense of freedom. The weight of the decision hadn't hit me yet, but it would. That evening, the emails started flooding in. Messages from the team about issues with the launch. Everything was falling apart, just as I had planned. But what really made me smile was the subject line of one email that stood out: "System error, launch delayed." The following days were a blur. I checked my email every morning, watching the disaster unfold in real time. My heart was pounding in my chest every time I saw a new message pop up in my inbox. More delays, more system failures, more frustrated clients, and a rising tide of panic from the management team. I wasn't just on the outside looking in anymore. I was watching my old company fall apart, piece by piece, because of what I had done. At first, I felt a strange satisfaction. I had done it. I had disrupted the launch they so desperately needed, and there was no way they could blame anyone but themselves. My little revenge, so carefully calculated, had hit them right where it hurt, in their bottom line. But as the days wore on, the satisfaction started to fade, replaced by an unsettling feeling in the pit of my stomach. The emails kept coming, each one a reminder of the mess I had caused. The client calls were getting worse. The whole thing was unraveling faster than I could have imagined, and the worst part? I wasn't sure where it would end. It didn't take long before I heard from Tracy. I was at home, sitting on my couch with a cup of tea, when my phone buzzed with a message from her. I stared at it for a moment, not sure if I should open it, but then I couldn't help myself. "We need to talk. Please call me." My heart skipped. I knew what this was. They had figured out what happened. They had connected the dots. And now they wanted to confront me. I took a deep breath and dialed her number, my hands shaking slightly as the phone rang. She picked up on the second ring. "Sarah," she said, her voice tight. "We need to talk about what happened with the system." I leaned back against the couch, trying to keep my cool. "What do you mean? It's just technical problems. Happens all the time, right? Tracy sighed. Don't play dumb, Sarah. We know it was you. The access logs are clear. You've sabotaged the launch. I could feel the heat rising in my chest. I didn't sabotage anything. I just gave them a taste of what it feels like to mess with someone who knows how the system works. She was silent for a moment. That's not just a taste, Sarah. This is a disaster. We have clients breathing down our necks, and the team is scrambling to fix the issues. You've set us back weeks, maybe months. I could hear the anger in her voice, but also a hint of fear. I had shaken things up in a way they hadn't expected. I gave you a chance, she continued. I tried to make this easy for you. You could have walked away with your severance, but now you've made this personal. Yeah, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Now I've made it personal. There was another pause before Tracy spoke again. Look, I'm not calling to argue, but I need to ask you something. Why? Why do this? What did you think you were going to gain from it? I didn't have a clear answer. What had I hoped to achieve? Revenge, yes. But what did that really solve? I couldn't lie to myself. I wanted to hurt them, but I also wanted to prove that I wasn't just some cog in the machine. I wanted them to know what it felt like to be at the mercy of something bigger than them. I didn't want to leave without a fight, I said quietly. I put years into that place. I wanted them to know that I mattered. Tracy didn't respond right away. Then she said, Well, you've made your point, but now you've crossed a line. You're not going to get away with this. Maybe, I replied, but they're going to remember me now. After the call, I sat there, staring out the window for a while, my thoughts racing. I had made my point, but was it enough? Did I actually feel satisfied? I had wanted to show them my worth, but now the consequences were starting to sink in. There were legal ramifications to what I had done. They couldn't just ignore it, and neither could I. I wasn't the type of person to back down, but I wasn't stupid either. I had a decision to make. Did I keep pushing, making things worse for everyone, including myself? Or did I walk away and try to salvage what was left of my reputation? It wasn't long before I got another call. This time, it was Victor. I braced myself for the inevitable confrontation. He didn't waste time. Sarah, he said coldly, we've talked to our lawyers. We know what you did. You've caused irreversible damage to our company, and we're holding you responsible. I didn't flinch. I didn't do anything that wasn't deserved. You took everything from me, Victor. The least I could do was show you how much you depended on me. He let out an exhale of frustration. This isn't about what you think you deserve. This is about the company, about what's at stake here. If you don't fix this, immediately, we will pursue legal action. I held my ground. Fix it? How? I've already done my damage. You're not getting that system back on track without me. There was silence on the other end for a long moment. And then he spoke again, his voice lower now. What do you want, Sarah? It was then that I realized what I was really after. I didn't want their apology. I didn't even want the bonus anymore. What I wanted was for them to understand that they couldn't just treat people like pawns. I want my bonus, I said, and I want a public apology. Acknowledgement for the work I've done. I've earned that much. There was a long pause. Fine, he finally said. But this doesn't end here. You'll fix this mess, today. Otherwise, we'll make sure you regret it. I didn't hesitate. We'll see. The next morning, I woke up with a gnawing sense of unease. Despite the victory I felt, my terms having been accepted, my bonus promised, something deep within me still felt unsettled. The words Victor had used, the threats hanging in the air, left a bitter taste. I had the power, sure, but at what cost? I had done what I thought was right, what I thought I needed to do to make them feel the weight of their actions. But now I wasn't sure if it had all been worth it. As the day wore on, I got to work. I started pulling up the data, slowly but steadily fixing the issues in the system. The changes I had made were extensive, but not impossible to reverse. The more I worked through the code, the more I realized just how much I knew. I could do this. It wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about showing them what they were truly missing out on when they let someone like me go. Every click and keystroke felt like both a step toward repairing the damage and a step toward gaining my own closure. By the time the afternoon rolled around, I'd fixed a significant portion of the issues. The worst was behind me, and I started to breathe easier. But there was still a part of me that kept checking my phone, waiting for a call, an email, or a message that would let me know if they were satisfied or if they had changed their minds. I didn't want to give in, not completely. I'd worked too hard to make myself clear, to make them know exactly where I stood. And then, around 5 p.m., my phone buzzed again. It was Kelly. "Hey Sarah, I don't know how to say this, but things are getting worse. The higher-ups are really pushing for answers. They've found traces of what you did, and they're freaking out. I don't know what's going to happen next. Just stay careful, okay?" I stared at the message, feeling my pulse quicken. I should have known better. I had thought they would just take the fix and move on, but instead, they were investigating, tracing the steps, looking for evidence. This wasn't over. It had only just begun. I tried to remain calm, to think through what had to happen next. I couldn't let them discover everything. I couldn't let them track the entire thing back to me. I wasn't just risking a career anymore. I was risking a legal battle, possibly even jail time. I quickly fired off a response to Kelly. "Thanks for the heads up. If they come looking for me, tell them I'm out of town. I'll take care of it from here." She replied with a quick thumbs up emoji, but I wasn't reassured. I knew it wouldn't be that simple. I took a deep breath and glanced at the system code I was still working on. There was one more thing I could do to throw them off the trail completely. One last backup plan that would make sure no one ever traced this back to me. I had the tools, the skills, just a few more clicks, a few more precautions, and it would all be out of my hands. I would have covered my tracks. Before I could second-guess myself, I went ahead and made the final adjustments. A few changes here, a few backdoor patches there, and I was done. The system was running again, and I had erased all the evidence that would have tied me to it. Then came the real test. Would they appreciate my efforts? Or would they see this as just another set of manipulations, another layer of my so-called revenge? Would they realize that I was doing the right thing all along, fixing their mess while still demanding respect for my contribution? I had no idea, but I knew I wasn't going to wait around and find out. It was then that I made my decision. I was done playing their game. I had done what I needed to do, but now it was time to take control of my own life. I couldn't stay in the shadows anymore. I had nothing to prove to them anymore. I grabbed my bag, checked the time, and walked out the door. It was the first time in days I felt like I could breathe. I had stood my ground. I had done the work, fixed their mistakes, and demanded what was owed to me. Now it was up to them to decide how far they wanted to take it. I knew this was the moment I had been waiting for. The moment when the tables turned for good. Whether or not they admitted it, they were in my debt now. Later that night, I got another call. This time, it was from Victor again. "Sarah," he said, his voice colder than I'd ever heard it. "You did what we asked. The system's back up and running. I'll give you that. But I want you to understand something. You've made a mess of this whole thing, and it's not over. Not by a long shot." I clenched my jaw but didn't interrupt. He continued, "But if you want to make this right, if you want to leave this behind without more consequences, then you'll meet me tomorrow. In person. No more games." I didn't hesitate for a moment. I knew what he was trying to do. This wasn't about me fixing things anymore. This was about them trying to have the upper hand, to bend me to their will. But I wasn't going to back down. "I'll be there," I said, my voice steady. And as I hung up, I realized something. This wasn't just about the bonus. It wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about asserting my place in this world, showing them that I wouldn't let anyone push me around, not even them. The night before I met Victor, I couldn't sleep. The decision I had made to meet him face to face was unsettling. I didn't know what he was planning, but I knew that after everything I had been through, I couldn't afford to back down now. I spent hours turning over what I'd done, what I could still do. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about everyone who had been overlooked, underappreciated, or forced out in the name of corporate greed. My experience wasn't unique, but somehow I felt like I was the one who had to make them see. I had to be the one to make the point. I had a few ideas about how this meeting could go, about what I needed to say to end this, to make sure they understood that I wasn't someone to be treated like dirt. It wasn't just about getting my bonus anymore. I'd proved my worth. It was about making sure they knew it and that they didn't forget it. The next morning, I dressed carefully. I chose my outfit deliberately, professional but not too polished. I wasn't walking into that meeting looking for a job. I wasn't looking for their approval. I was walking in to make sure they understood I had control of the situation and no one was going to dictate my future anymore. When I arrived at the office, the building felt different. There was a tension in the air, a weight that hadn't been there before. It was like everything was under a microscope now, my every movement, my every word. I knew they were watching me, waiting to see how I'd handle this, but I was done being watched. I was done playing their game. Victor's office was the same as I remembered, stark, clean, and cold. He was already sitting at the desk when I walked in, staring at a computer screen. He didn't even look up at first. "Sit down," he said, his tone clipped. I took a seat across from him, folding my hands in my lap. The silence between us felt thick, like we were both waiting for the other to make a move. I knew this was his turf, his world, but I wasn't intimidated, not anymore. "So you fixed the system," he started, not meeting my eyes. "You did what we asked. But you know, Sarah, you've really caused a mess." I raised an eyebrow. "A mess? Funny, I thought I was fixing your mess." He looked up at me, his eyes narrowing. "You don't get it. This isn't just about the system. This is about loyalty, about respect. You've made it clear that you don't care about any of that." I could feel my pulse picking up. I had to stay calm. This was it, the final showdown. "Loyalty?" I echoed, leaning forward slightly. "Loyalty is a two-way street, Victor. You want me to respect you? Then show me some. You want to fire me? Fine. But don't try to take away what I've earned." He scowled, his fingers tapping against the desk in a rhythmic pattern that grated on my nerves. "This is bigger than you think. This company, this system, it's not just some game you play with. People's livelihoods are on the line. This isn't just about you and me." I stood up, cutting him off mid-sentence. "You're right. It's not just about us. But what about all the people you've screwed over to get here? All the people you've pushed aside, ignored, discarded like they didn't matter. Did you ever think about them?" Victor stood up too, the tension between us reaching its peak. "What's your point, Sarah? What do you want from me?" "I want to make sure that you remember this," I said, stepping closer to his desk. "You're not the only one who has power. You think because you sit behind that desk and hold all the cards, you're untouchable? You're wrong. You're just as vulnerable as anyone else." Victor's eyes flickered for a moment. It was brief, but I saw it. The doubt, the shift in his demeanor. He wasn't as in control as he thought. "And as for the bonus," I continued, my voice hardening, "you're going to pay me what I'm owed. No more games, no more threats. You want to walk away from this with your dignity intact? You'll do it on my terms." There was a long pause, and for a moment, I thought he might try to argue. Instead, he let out a slow breath, his shoulders slumping slightly. "Fine," he said, his voice resigned. "You'll get your bonus, and we'll make sure the system is fully back on track. You've made your point." I didn't smile, didn't gloat. There was no satisfaction in hearing him give in. I had expected it, and now that it was done, it didn't feel like a victory. It felt like the end of something that I couldn't quite explain. "Good," I said, turning to leave. "Make sure the check clears." As I walked out of the office, I felt a weight lifting off my shoulders. The storm was over. I had stood my ground. I had made them see me, not as just another employee, not as a tool to be discarded, but as someone who deserved respect. And I had done it on my terms. No one could take that from me. The bonus was nice, sure, but the true reward? It was knowing that I had reclaimed my power. I had taken back control of my life, and that was worth more than anything.